Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive all about gold IRAs. We're going to be talking about securing your family's financial future, and if gold could be a smart part of that plan.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to explore some pretty interesting stuff today, like how gold IRAs can play a role in protecting your wealth and even estate planning.
All right, sounds good. But before we get too far, can we start with the basics? What exactly is a gold IRA? Is this like having a treasure chest of gold bars hidden in my attic?
Not quite. A gold IRA is basically a retirement account, but instead of holding stocks or bonds, you hold actual physical gold, like think gold bullion, those bars you see in movies, or certain approved coins.
Oh, okay. So instead of riding the ups and downs of the stock market, I'm holding something a little more, well, solid. But does that mean I'm like completely turning my back on the stock market?
Not necessarily. Think of it more like adding another layer of protection to your portfolio, like a safety net. Just imagine back in 2008 when the stock market, the S&P 500, tanked almost 40%. Gold actually went up, like way up over 25%. So that could have been like an extra $2,500 for every $10,000 you had in gold.
Wow, that's a big difference. I mean, it seems like having some of my retirement in gold could have been a good buffer during that market crash. But what about taxes? You mentioned there were some benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big ones is tax-deferred growth. So just like a traditional IRA, your investments grow without being taxed until you retire.
Oh, okay, I see. So that's money that can keep working for me longer instead of going straight to taxes. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I keep hearing about gold being this safe haven asset. What makes it
Gotcha.
so safe, especially when things get a little rocky in the economy?
Well, gold has this unique thing about it. Its value isn't directly tied to the stock market or even the dollar. So when the economy has a rough patch, like recessions, inflation, even political stuff, people often turn to gold. It's seen as a stable store of value, almost like a financial rock, if you will.
Like that reliable friend who always has your back no matter what craziness is going on.
Exactly. And remember that 2008 crash we were talking about? Well, a lot of people saw the retirement accounts take a big hit. But those who had gold, they actually saw their investments grow. Kind of shows how gold can weather the storm.
That definitely makes it seem worth considering. Okay, so we talked about market crashes, but what about inflation? That slow and steady thing that eats away at my savings. Can gold help me there too?
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Gold has a history of generally doing better than other assets when inflation is high. See, as the dollar loses buying power, the price of gold tends to go up. It's almost like a built-in protection for your savings.
So while inflation's eating away at my cash, the value of my gold is going up. Sounds like a good way to, keep my money safe from losing value, especially now with inflation being a big concern for everyone.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why investors often consider gold as a long-term strategy to protect their wealth.
Okay, this is all making a lot of sense now. There's another piece to this puzzle I'm curious about, though, and that's estate planning. How does a gold IRA fit into that?
Now, this is a topic that's especially important for you since you're thinking about protecting your family's future. One of the best things about a gold IRA is that it can really make it easier to pass on your wealth to your heirs. And with a little planning, it can even help lower those estate taxes, which can be a big worry for families.
So it's not just about protecting my money while I'm here, but making sure it goes to my family without any problems.
Hmm.
Are there um, any specific ways to do that?
There are. One option is to put your gold IRA into a what's called a revocable living trust. This helps you avoid probate, which can be a long and expensive process, and make sure your assets are transferred to your beneficiaries quickly and smoothly.
Yeah, probate is a nightmare. It would be great to know my family won't have to deal with all of that.
Exactly. And with a living trust, you have a lot more control over how your assets are distributed, ensuring your wishes are carried out, exactly how you planned it.
Okay, so gold IRAs sound like they have a lot of potential, but there are always rules, right? What are the main rules I need to know about with a gold IRA?
Well, you're right. The IRS does have specific regulations for gold IRAs, especially when it comes to the types of gold allowed. Not just any gold can be included.
Right.
The IRS has rules about how pure it has to be.
So I can't just melt down my old jewelry and call it a day. What kind of gold is actually acceptable?
Good question. Usually you have two main choices. Gold bullion, those bars we talked about, which have to be at least 99.5% pure to meet IRS rules, or specific types of gold coins.
Oh, okay. So not just any old coins. What makes these special?
Yeah, these aren't your everyday collectible coins. They have to be official government-issued coins that meet specific standards. Things like the American Gold Eagle, they have to be a certain purity and weight.
So it has to be the real deal gold. I get it. And I'm guessing I can't just keep this gold at home, right?
Well, stashing it on your mattress might sound safe, but the IRS actually requires that all gold held in a gold IRA has to be stored in a special approved depository. Think of it like Fort Knox, but for regular investors.
So my gold will be hanging out in a super secure vault with a bunch of other people's gold. I guess that's a lot safer than my house anyway.
You got it. These depositories are specifically built for storing precious metals. They have top-of-the-line security systems, climate control to protect the gold, and even insurance in case something happens.
Okay, that makes me feel better. So my gold is safe and sound. My gold IRA is all set up. What about actually managing the account? Is it similar to a regular IRA?
In a lot of ways, yeah. You'll get regular statements from your custodian showing how much your gold is worth. But it's important to remember that, unlike some stocks, gold doesn't give you income, like dividends. It's really a long-term investment. Its value grows as the price of gold goes up.
So this isn't something I should be checking every day, hoping to get rich quick. More like a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing.
You got it. Gold is all about riding out those tough economic times, holding its value when other investments might be going down, and hopefully growing steadily over the years. It's a piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture.
That makes sense. Now let's talk about something that always makes me a little nervous. Fees. Are there any special fees with gold IRAs that I need to watch out for?
You always got to be careful with fees. A good custodian will be totally transparent about all their fees. You'll usually have custodian fees for administrative stuff, then storage fees for keeping your gold safe in the depository. And if you ever decide to sell your gold, there might be transaction fees too.
Okay, so I've got to factor all those in. Speaking of selling, let's fast forward to retirement. How do I actually get my hands on my gold when I'm ready to enjoy those golden years?
That's a great question. You actually have a few options.
Yeah.
You can take physical possession of the gold, but keep in mind you'll have to pay taxes on it and be responsible for storing and insuring it yourself. Or you can sell the gold and get the cash, but that's also taxable.
So no matter what, there are going to be taxes.
Yeah, just like with regular IRA distributions. But you could also have the gold shipped to a dealer and have them convert it to cash for you.
Okay, so there's some flexibility there. Good to know.
Definitely. Your custodian can help you figure out the best way to access your gold when the time comes and make a plan that fits your retirement goals.
This has been super helpful. We've covered so much already. Setting up the account, picking the right gold, understanding how it's stored, and even how distributions work. But I have a feeling this is just the beginning,
Yeah.
right?
There's always more to learn. In part 2, we'll dive deeper into the practical side of things. We'll talk more about choosing the right custodian, the different types of gold you can invest in, and even some things to watch out for.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling more confident about gold IRAs, and I can't wait to get even more information. See you in part 2. Welcome back to our Gold IRA Deep Dive. We've talked about what a gold IRA is, the benefits and the rules, but now I'm kind of ready to get down to the nitty-gritty. How do I actually set one up? It seems a bit more, complicated than just opening a regular account in a brokerage.
Yeah, you're right. It's a little more involved. And choosing the right custodian is super important. They're kind of like the guardians of your gold IRA, making sure everything's done right and you're following all those IRS rules.
I've heard some pretty scary stories about people picking the wrong custodian and, ending up in trouble with the IRS. Are there any red flags I should be looking for?
That's a really good question. The first thing is to make sure any custodian you're thinking about is accredited and has a solid reputation. Check them out with the Better Business Bureau, read reviews from other investors, that kind of thing.
Okay, so do my homework. Makes sense. What else should I be looking for?
Transparency is key. A good custodian will be totally upfront about all their fees. You want to know exactly what you're paying, custodian fees, storage fees, any transaction fees before you sign up. Don't be afraid to, ask questions and compare different custodians.
Yeah, those hidden fees can really sneak up on you. All right, so I've found a trustworthy custodian. What's next on my gold IRA checklist?
Now comes the exciting part, picking out your gold. But it's not as simple as it might seem. Remember those IRS rules? They apply here too.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm picturing myself diving into a vault full of gold coins, Scrooge McDuck style. But something tells me it's not quite that easy.
Uh-huh. Well, while that sounds fun, unfortunately, you can't just throw any old gold into a gold IRA. You basically have two choices. Bullion, which is those gold bars you see in the movies, and they got to be at least 99.5% pure for the IRS. Or you can go with specific gold coins.
Got it. So it's got to be the high quality stuff. What's so special about the coins, though?
These aren't your run-of-the-mill collectible coins. They have to be government issued and meet certain standards, like the American Gold Eagle. They got to be a certain purity, a certain weight.
Ah, so it's a pretty exclusive club. Makes sense. But where does my gold actually go once I've chosen it? I mean, I'm guessing I don't get to keep it in my sock drawer.
A sock drawer full of gold might be tempting, but the IRS says all gold in a gold IRA has to be stored in an approved depository. Think of it like Fort Knox, but for everyday investors.
So my gold's going to be hanging out in a high security vault with everyone else's gold? Well, that's definitely safer than my house.
Right. These depositories are designed specifically for storing precious metals. They have amazing security, climate control to keep the gold in good condition, and insurance just in case.
Okay, good to know my gold's in good hands. So I've got my gold IRA set up. My gold is safe and sound. What about managing it? Is it like a regular IRA?
In a lot of ways, yeah. Your custodian will send you regular statements that show how much your gold is worth. But one thing to remember is that gold, unlike some stocks, doesn't pay you anything, like no dividends or interest. It's really about the price going up over time.
So it's not like I'm going to be watching it every day hoping to make quick profit. It's more of a long-term strategy.
Exactly. Gold is all about holding its value during tough times and hopefully growing steadily over the years. It's just one part of your overall investment plan.
Okay, that makes sense. Speaking of things that can eat away at my investments, what about fees? Any hidden fees with gold IRAs that I should be aware of?
Transparency is so important here. A good custodian will be completely open about all their fees. You'll usually have custodian fees, storage fees, and maybe transaction fees if you sell your gold.
All right, so got to keep an eye on those costs. Speaking of selling, let's say it's retirement time and I want to access my gold. How does that work?
You've got options there. You can take physical possession of the gold, but remember, you'll have to pay taxes on it, and you're responsible for storing and insuring it yourself. Or you could sell it and get the cash, but that's also taxable.
So no way to avoid those taxes, huh?
Well, it's like with any IRA distribution,
Yeah.
but you could also have the gold sent to a dealer and they can convert it to cash for you.
Okay, so I have some choices. That's good to know.
Definitely. Your custodian can help you figure out the best way to access your gold when you're ready and make a plan that works for you.
This all making a lot more sense now. We've talked about setting up a gold IRA, choosing a custodian where the gold is stored, even how to get it when I retire. But I'm sure there's more to it, right?
There's always more to learn. In part 3, we'll step back and look at the bigger picture. We'll talk about the pros and cons of gold IRAs, how they compare to other investments, and whether they're a good fit for you.
Great. I'm starting to see how all the pieces fit together, and I'm excited to learn even more. See you in part 3. We're back for the final part of our gold IRA deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground. We know what they are, how to set them up, all that. But the big question now is, are they right for me?
Well, yeah, that's the real question, isn't it? And like with any investment, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on your situation, how much risk you're comfortable with, in your long-term goals.
Okay, so let's break it down. We've talked about some of the good stuff, but what really makes gold IRAs different from other investments?
Well, one of the big things is that gold can really help protect your wealth, especially when things are uncertain. We talked about inflation, the stock market going up and down, even those unexpected things that can shake up the financial world. Gold usually holds its value when other investments are struggling.
It's like having that extra bit of security, just in case. But didn't you say that gold doesn't actually make money, like stocks or bonds do? Doesn't that limit how much it can grow?
You're right. Gold isn't about making a quick buck or getting, regular income from it. It's more about stability, holding its value, and maybe growing steadily over time. It's a long-term strategy.
Okay, so for someone like me who's looking for, well, security and stability over the long term, gold makes a lot of sense. And then there are the tax advantages we talked about.
Yeah.
Those are still a good thing, right?
Absolutely. The fact that your investments grow without being taxed until retirement, that can be a huge benefit, especially when you're planning for your golden years. And remember those estate planning perks, too.
Right. Being able to, pass on my wealth to my family without any problems and potentially saving on those estate taxes, that's a big deal. It feels like we've been focusing on all the positives of gold IRAs. Are there any Any downsides or risks I should know about?
Well, it's always smart to look at both sides, right? While gold has usually performed well when there's inflation, it's not, a guaranteed thing. And like we said, gold doesn't pay you any income.
So if I'm counting on my investments to give me income in retirement, gold might not be the best solution. It's more about keeping my money safe and making more money, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we got to be realistic about the costs. Those custodian fees, storage fees, and transaction fees, if you sell, they can all add up.
Right. Good point. No investment is totally free. Okay, so we've talked about the good and the bad. How do gold IRAs compare to like stocks and bonds? Where do they fit in a diversified portfolio?
That's a great question. Stocks historically have had higher returns over, long periods, but with higher potential rewards comes more risk. They can be really volatile. They go up and down with the market and the economy. Even problems with specific companies can affect their value.
It's that classic trade-off, right? More risk, more potential reward. So what about bonds? They're usually considered safer than stocks, right?
True, bonds tend to be more stable than stocks, but they usually have lower returns. And they do pay you a fixed income, which can be appealing to some investors, especially those getting close to retirement.
But don't bonds get affected by interest rates? Isn't that a risk too?
Yeah, you're right. When interest rates go up, bond values usually go down. And we can't forget about inflation. Even though bonds pay you a steady income, inflation can eat away at the value of that income over time. That's where gold, with its track record of doing well during inflation, could really be a smart move.
It seems like every type of investment has its pros and cons. I'm really seeing why it's so important to diversify, to have a mix of different things.
You got it. A well-diversified portfolio is kind of like a balanced meal. You need different ingredients to be healthy. Stocks might be your main course, bonds your side dish, and gold. Well, gold is like that little spice that adds an extra layer of flavor and makes the whole thing more resilient.
I love that analogy.
Mm.
So if I'm thinking about adding a gold IRA to my portfolio, what are the most important things to keep in mind?
Here are a few things to consider. First, do your research. Don't just jump in without understanding what you're getting into. Learn about gold IRAs, the different types of gold, and all those IRS rules. There's a ton of information out there. Second, know your goals. What are you hoping to achieve with a gold IRA? Is it protecting your wealth over the long haul, protection against inflation, making sure your inheritance goes smoothly to your family? Having clear goals will really help you make smart decisions. Third, find a good custodian. We talked about that before, but it's really important. Pick someone with a good reputation, transparent fees, and great customer service. They're your partner in this. Fourth, think about your timeline. Gold is a long-term investment. Don't expect to get rich quick. It's a part of your overall strategy, designed for stability and potential growth over time. And finally, talk to a financial advisor. If you're feeling a little lost, a good advisor can give you personalized advice based on your specific situation and goals.
Wow, that's a lot of great advice. This whole deep dive has been incredibly helpful. I feel so much more informed about gold IRAs and, how to decide if they're right for me.
Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about investing, the better choices you can make, and the more confident you'll feel about your financial future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into gold IRAs. We hope you've learned a lot. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.